Turkey. Turkey is the land known for its baklava, the Trojan horse, sunny beaches, and its beautiful city Istanbul. It has a colourful history and a great cultural offer. But it's also a country on the divide of Europe and Western Asia, with many different groups within its population. These groups often do not interact much, causing a divide within Turkish society. The government, meanwhile, only plays to its base of voters, leading many citizens to feel disenfranchised. On May 28, 2013, anti-government demonstrations were started in the Taksim Gezi Park. Thousands of protesters assembled themselves peacefully and organized their own library, food distribution, healthcare, and media. Their core issues range from local environmental concerns to freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and the government's increasing invasion of the private sphere. The police violently cleared the park using water cannons and tear gas, yet protests continue in various other ways to this day. The communal days in Gezi Park inspired the creation of a new society, the Utopia project. Utopia is an imagined perfect place. It is the response to social and economic inequality. Pessimism exists whether utopia is even possible, but we believe it is. There have been many examples of utopian societies all over the world. Some have existed for decades, others only lasted shortly. We can learn a great deal from those communities. Drop City was an artist community in the 60s. They built domes of inexpensive materials to house themselves, as they believed that corners constrict the mind. In addition, the hemispherical architecture of the dome owns resistance to subdivision and thus supports equality. The downfall of Drop City was that it became inhabited by uncommitted people. Thus, for a utopian society to survive, commitment to the project and a common goal is key. This is also what we see in this community in kibbutz. Their common goal is to fight for quality housing and basic public services, something that strikes every single member personally. The common goal is what connects them and what keeps them going.
Through this course, I've gained a lot in confidence in terms of how to live sustainably and practical methods to follow through with.
We should realize that small communities often face the same problems and shortcomings as large societies. Oversight of this fact has led to disillusionment of many utopian experimentalists. Therefore, our envisioned community should come up with sustainable solutions for common societal problems. Ideas and points of view of people interested in the project were collected in order to provide a basis for what can be done in Turkey to move towards the utopian society.
The term civil society is based on the third sector that exists next to business and government. It is made up of the non-governmental institutions, associations, and organizations that represent the will of citizens. So why is an active civil society necessary in our utopia? Well, the civil society serves as a public sphere where you can meet and interact with new people with different views from your own. It is a place where you can learn from each other, where you can let your voice be heard, and it is a place that opens dialogue with the established order. What are the conditions of a strong civil society? First of all, organizations that operate as part of the civil society must be transparent about their work. Secondly, everyone must take responsibility towards the community. And finally, it is always a good thing to show those who participate in the civil society appreciation for what they do. In the enforcement and nurturing of the civil society, we can find the balance between a strongly bureaucratic government and a completely ad hoc society. Getting there is a bottom-up process.
In sustainable development, the use of resources aims to meet human needs while ensuring the preservation of natural systems and the environment, so that our needs can be met both in the present and in the future. Sustainability is not limited to renewable energy sources and waste management. Other concepts include collaborative consumption, collective transport, organic food production, and so on. We need to rethink the way we deal with products. For sustainable development to be successful, our fundamental values should be incorporated in a product, from beginning to end. The people need to be educated well in order for them to make the right choice of product. Sustainable development is not only about products, services, and waste. It is also about balancing inequality in the labor force, where minority groups are often ignored. Sustainable development here is about making use of everyone's full capacity. Instead of looking at people's limitations, involving their strengths could make for sustainable opportunities.
During the brainstorming session, lots of great ideas were discussed with regard to economy, which pretty much all centered around a renewed belief in the importance of community. Collaborative consumption, for example, describes the shift in consumer values from ownership to access. So, collaborative consumption is a class of economic arrangements in which participants share access to products or services rather than having individual ownership. Often this model is enabled by technology and peer-to-peer communities. In addition, time banking could be a great idea for the utopian society in Istanbul. Time banking is a pattern of reciprocal service exchange that uses units of time as currency. Time banking is primarily used to provide incentives and rewards for work such as mentoring children, caring for the elderly, being neighborly, work usually done on a volunteer basis, which a pure market system devalues. And finally, crowdsourcing could be at the center of our community. It's the practice of obtaining needed services, ideas, or content by soliciting contributions from a large group of people, and especially from an online community, rather than from traditional employees or suppliers.
Out of these topics, governance is likely most based on abstract thinking and speculation. Changing the way a government works is extremely hard and takes a lot of time. Moreover, governments are often seen as part of the problem, not as part of the solution. This sentiment was also reflected during the brainstorm. Instead of a dominant government, participants expressed their belief that it should take a role backstage as a neutral actor within society. Instead of relying on the government, which takes sides within the segmented population of Turkey, the people could rely on their shared identity and culture. These factors can bring people together and start to fix society from the bottom up. While it is hard to see how the government could be convinced to change in such a way that it enables these actions by its citizens, it has become clear that at the very least it should not be a dividing factor.
When it first came to our minds, we felt alone, okay? But now, it's just like the revelation that we had after the Gezi Park protests. We felt we are not alone. There are so many people thinking like us, and this event was another revelation for me and for my friends about the fact that we are not alone.